The French region of Brittany is well known for its abundant legends. From megalithic standing stones to tales of sorcerers and fairy folk, the region's vibrant countryside has a strong oral tradition of paranormal folklore. Amongst its many mysteries are tales of ghosts, bound to significant locations where they are whispered to have haunted the living for centuries. The Forest of Loudiac is one of the largest forests in the region. Thought to have once been part of a vast forest which covered ancient inland Brittany, the forest's dense woodland arguably makes it the perfect place to conceal a crime. And certainly such a nefarious deed was attempted in 1710, when a quarrel between two rivals ended in death. An entry in the local parish register from the 11th of December 1710 records how a 21-year-old man called Jean was convicted of the murder of Pierre Leroy. Pierre's body was found at the foot of an oak tree deep within the Forest of Loudiac, after having been lured there by his friend Jean. The two, it was claimed, were in love with the same woman. Jealous and angered by his rival, Jean acted on drunken impulse and stabbed Pierre to death. He hoped that the forest would conceal his dark deed. However, Pierre's body was later discovered, and his killer was arrested, tried, and executed. Today, if you visit the location of the terrible crime, you will find 5 small holes in the forest floor. Local legend states that these holes are the very same ones created by Pierre's lifeless body, as it lay there waiting to be discovered. The holes are said to have been caused by the impact of his head, elbows, and heels when they fell to the ground. It is said that Pierre's spirit still haunts the forest today, and that his anger at having lost his life so tragically has cursed the very area of his demise. Local people warn that the 5 holes in the ground should not be covered or blocked at the risk of meeting a terrible end within a year. Local media has reported that several years ago, legend met reality when a local man died suddenly after visiting this supposedly cursed area of the forest. The man and a friend were drinking late at night in the forest when, gripped by bravado, he decided to plug one of Pierre's holes. When he died shortly afterwards, his friends and family blamed the curse. Eerily, the French National Office of Forests has erected a barrier around the holes to prevent anyone from getting too close, as well as a sign which warns visitors of the legendary curse. Just outside the village of Saint-Nicolas-du-Polem, located at the end of a secluded road, is the Chapel of Raloo. Dating back to the 16th century, this chapel is known for being one of the few locations in Brittany which houses a Wheel of Fortune, a medieval wheel original to Brittany, with bells at the end of each of its 12 spokes, which would have been rung at joyous ceremonies such as weddings and baptisms. A site of religious and historic interest, the chapel is treasured by local people. Yet, some residents of the village regard Raloo Chapel and its Wheel of Fortune in a different light. A focus of superstition, the bell-adorned wheel is rumoured to attract those wishing to perform covert rituals, during which the wheel would be used to make vows intended to heal critical illnesses. On the evening of the 4th of October 1964, at around 9 PM, several people, described as being odd-looking in local legend, arrived at the nearby farm asking if they could have the key to the chapel. For the next 5 hours, a loud noise was supposedly heard coming from the chapel. An unnaturally bright light was also seen shining out of the building's windows. At around 2 o'clock the next morning, the noise stopped abruptly and the light went out. Those at the farm who had witnessed this unusual event did not dare ask what had happened out of fright. Whilst the group of people who visited that night were never seen again, Ever since, there have been rumours of supernatural manifestations at the chapel. Strange sounds and bright lights are said to leak out from the building's old stone walls on occasion. Some have even suggested that whatever happened at the chapel that night in 1964 affected the site, changing it forevermore. Was the Chapel of Raloo the site of a nefarious paranormal ritual? In the 12th century, the son of the Duke of Brittany named Etienne built a castle to serve as a hunting lodge on the outskirts of a dense forest in the parish of Nizon. The entire area used to be covered with thick trees and so abounded in hunting game. As time progressed, the castle became more frequented and in the 15th century was renovated and turned into the magnificent Chateau du Rostifont. After this, the chateau hosted many great festivals. It became customary for villagers to gather on the grassy space in front of the chateau at night, where they would eat and dance together. However, over time, the celebrations gained an ominous aura. At night, sparkling ghostly eyes were said to pierce out through the darkness from what looked like the bald head of a priest. Villagers also reported seeing a coffin appear in the great hall, illuminated by 4 white candles. The spirit of a young woman has also alleged to be visible on moonlit nights, strolling around the chateau, sometimes singing, sometimes weeping. These series of spectral sightings are said to be connected to a true tragedy dating to the 16th century. The fate of 2 young lovers, Geneviève Dufayot and Yannick Le Flecher, was doomed by their social standing. When Geneviève, the daughter of a local nobleman, fell in love with a commoner, Yannick, her father forbade the union, forcing her lover to become a priest and leave the area. The nobleman's actions broke his daughter's heart, condemning Geneviève to die of grief. It is said that the spirit of the priest is Yannick, searching the chateau for his lost love. The weeping woman is claimed to be heartbroken Geneviève, with the coffin also hers, denoted by the 4 white candles which were customarily used at the death of noble girls. When the apparitions began to manifest, the chateau started to become abandoned. Despite its once splendid history, the villagers took their festivities elsewhere and learned to keep away from the chateau. During the French Revolution, the building was seized and sold as national property and would afterwards be quarried for stone for more than 100 years. Slowly, the building fell into ruin until it became what it is today, 2 crumbling, disconnected towers being devoured by the forest it once claimed dominion over. Now, the only trace of its colourful history are the spirits which are said to haunt the remains at night. Crosses and crucifixes are common sights in Brittany, frequently found in the centres of towns and villages, as well as on roadsides near clustered rural homesteads. Erected over the centuries by local communities, these monuments are a testament to Brittany's once formidable religious past. Nowadays, these abundant crosses are largely overlooked. Yet, there are still some which have a special reputation, if only for ominous reasons. On a road at a distance away from the village of Gomney are the Têtes Fouillées, 3 stone crosses which stand on an isolated heath surrounded by coarse vegetation. The centre cross dates back to the Middle Ages, the other 2 having been added at a later date. Their unusual isolation is explained in local legend. Supposedly, the first cross was placed there to ward off evil. Presumably, it did not work, with the trio considered to be more powerful to fend off malevolent forces. For those who approach the crosses during daytime, they project a mystical aura. For those who approach at night, they exude a more sinister atmosphere. A sign close to the crosses explains that every night since the Franco-Prussian War of 1870, a spectral figure can be seen lurking at the site. dressed in a long coat, with eyes concealed by the shadow cast by a wide-brimmed hat. This phantom is said to be a soldier, returned from battle to haunt the crosses. Described as a malevolent spirit, a poacher from the nearby village decided to confront the entity one moonlit night. For the poacher, the encounter ended in the worst possible way. Now it is said that both spirits haunt the crosses. By the light of the full moon, the poacher reappears, trapped in the moment of his demise, doomed to linger alongside the dark entity which took his life. Throughout the centuries, blood has soaked the area around the Marshes of Coetmeur. During the 100 Years' War, the bloody Battle of Raloo was fought between the English-backed Breton forces against the French-reinforced Breton army for supremacy over what was then the independent Duchy of Brittany. The marshes bogged down the heavily armoured knights of the French, as the English longbowmen's arrows continuously met their mark. The blood of the dead soaked into the muddy ground beneath. In 1795 and 1815, bloodshed visited the area again when French royalist forces were defeated by the revolutionary Republican and Imperial armies of France. In 1829, a grand chapel was erected by the King of France to commemorate the martyrs who gave their lives for his cause. Solemn on an open field which overlooks the marshes, the chapel stands as a temple, which to this day is supposedly haunted by the spirits of the fallen. Local legend tells of how the lives lost in the conflicts have seeped into the marshes, imprinting the land with a curse. The soldiers are believed to be trapped in the sinister grasp of the unnatural place, living out the moment of their deaths over and over again. There are reports of witnesses having encountered an otherworldly haze descending upon the marshes. Some have even claimed that the tormented souls of the soldiers have physically attacked people as they walk by the site of their death. The restless spirits of the soldiers are then not only claimed to be reliving their last moments, but also seeking new victims to fuel their bloodlust. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more about Brittany and its mysteries, why not watch our mini documentary on the stones of Karnak, suggested on screen now. We also have details about how to visit the supposedly haunted locations mentioned in this video on our website, so why not take a look? Until next time.